You ever wake up to someone pounding on your door at 7 in the morning, sounding like they're trying to summon a demon? That was me, yanked out of a dead sleep, not by my alarm or the neighbor's dog, but by Linda, our HOA's self-crowned dictator, screaming her lungs out in my driveway, dragging what looked like a half-mile of orange extension cord across my lawn. I peeked through the blinds, still groggy, and there she was, face red as a stop sign, yelling that my electric car charger was community property, and she had every right to juice up her fancy BMW hybrid whenever she damn well pleased. I nearly spit out my coffee. It was like watching a reality show villain in real life, except this one was in my front yard, waving her arms like she was directing traffic, demanding I open my garage right now. A couple of neighbors, still in their bathrobes, were already out there, one guy filming the whole thing on his phone, probably for the neighborhood group chat. Linda was in full performance mode, shouting about some emergency HOA rule she'd made up, threatening to fine me for hoarding electricity. I stood there, half awake, torn between laughing, yelling, or just crawling back to bed, but I knew this was Linda we were talking about, and with her, small fights always turned into neighborhood wars. Let me back up. Things were pretty normal until that morning. I'd come home from work the day before, plugged my Kia EV into the charger in my garage, and sat down to dinner with my wife, Sarah. We'd gone all in on solar panels last year, and let me tell you, it was a game changer, slashing our bills, doing our bit for the planet, the whole deal. But to Linda, it was like I'd personally insulted her by not needing the gas station anymore. She'd cornered me twice that week, all huffy, asking why I thought I was so special with my free charger when she was stuck paying for gas. I tried explaining calmly, mind you, that it wasn't free, that we'd paid thousands for the panels and installation, but she just waved me off, muttering about community fairness, like I was running some exclusive club. So there I was, standing in my pajamas, staring at Linda and her ridiculous cord, which, by the way, was tangled across 3 lawns like some kind of suburban tripwire. Before I could even get a word out, she launched into this tirade about how the HOA bylaws guaranteed equal access to utilities. She was waving a copy of the rules, highlighted in neon pink, pointing at some line she swore proved my charger was public property. I took one look and had to bite my lip to keep from laughing. It was a clause about streetlights, not my garage. I pointed that out, and she just puffed up, hands on hips, and declared electricity itself was a communal right. I mean, Comanche was acting like I was hoarding the sun. Behind her, the crowd was growing, neighbors whispering, snickering, one guy muttering, "She's lost it." Linda, undeterred, tried to roll her BMW up my driveway, nearly crushing Sarah's rose bushes in the process. She held that cord like it was Excalibur, demanding I plug it in for her civic duty. I told her straight up it wasn't safe, that it could fry her car or my charger, but she scoffed, saying I was just spouting tech nonsense to scare her. The nerve of this woman, it was almost funny, except it was my property she was messing with. I said no, firm, and thought that'd be the end of it. Nope. She stomped her foot, screamed she'd find me herself, and when I reminded her she wasn't the entire HOA board, she snapped. I basically am. The neighbors lost it, laughing so hard she turned even redder, if that was possible. When she saw she wasn't winning, Linda switched tactics, turning to the crowd and yelling that I was selfish, that I thought I was better than everyone with my fancy electric car, that I didn't care about her gas bills. It was Oscar-worthy, her voice cracking, playing the victim like she was auditioning for a soap opera. One neighbor whispered it was like watching a bad courtroom drama, and I couldn't disagree. Then she upped the ante, threatening to call an emergency HOA meeting to vote on making my charger public. I told her if she touched my property, I'd call the cops. She gasped like I'd slapped her, shouting to everyone that I was threatening her. At that point, I was done. Logic wasn't getting through that thick skull. Then Sarah stepped out, coffee in hand, cool as a cucumber, and asked why Linda was waking up half the street over a charger she didn't own. Linda tried to play nice, all sweet and innocent, saying she just wanted to discuss energy sharing. Sarah raised an eyebrow, pointed at the cord snaking across the lawns, and said, "That looked like a discussion to you?" The neighbors cracked up, some clapping, and Linda stormed off, yelling about an HOA showdown. I thought that was the end of it, but deep down, I knew better. Linda didn't quit when she thought she was right, and this was just Act 1. By that evening, she'd plastered flyers on every door, calling for an emergency HOA meeting to discuss eco-friendly access. It was like she thought she was leading a revolution. The flyer had her name in huge letters, like she was running for president, not just bullying me over a charger. Sarah read it and just shook her head, muttering, "She's turning this into a circus." Sure enough, the next night, the HOA clubhouse was packed. People there for the drama, not the debate. Linda stood up front, BMW keys dangling like a medal, launching into a speech about fairness and green energy, waving those same neon-highlighted bylaws. She even had poster-sized photos of my Kia in the driveway, like it was evidence in a crime show, claiming it symbolized inequality. My jaw hit the floor. She was acting like my car was the villain in a dystopian movie. She went on, saying everyone should have access to my charger, with me paying for it since I'd taken the first step. Sarah raised her hand and asked if Linda had considered the safety risks of random cars plugging into our system. Linda snapped that she'd researched it on YouTube, which got a laugh from the room. She pushed for a vote, but only her two cronies raised their hands. Everyone else just stared, amused but unconvinced. When it flopped, she yelled that we were all bullied by me and stormed out, promising to take matters into her own hands. That's when I knew she was about to do something stupid. 2 days later, a neighbor texted me a photo of Linda creeping around my garage while I was at work, measuring something like she was planning a heist. Then she tried plugging a cheap adapter into my outdoor outlet, tripping the breaker and killing half the garage power. Sarah caught her, and Linda claimed the cord fell into the outlet by accident. Yeah, right. That night, I noticed scuff marks on my charger, like someone had tried to force a plug in. That was it. I installed a security camera, knowing Linda wouldn't stop. Sure enough, a few nights later, the garage lights flickered. I ran out and found her half inside my garage, holding some sketchy adapter that looked like it was from a flea market. Sparks flew, plastic burned, and she screamed, dropping it as smoke curled up. I cut the breaker while Sarah snapped a photo. Linda had the gall to say it was my fault for not labeling the equipment. Unbelievable. The next morning, the neighborhood chat was buzzing with my camera footage. Linda nearly torching my garage. People started calling her Sparky, and she hated it. She marched around, ranting about how dangerous electric cars were, how the government should regulate chargers. Meanwhile, her BMW started glitching, dashboard flickering, battery acting up. She blamed me, saying my selfishness forced her to use alternate methods. Nobody bought it. One neighbor even said, "She's the type to burn her own car and blame someone else." I nodded, because that's exactly where this was headed. Things got crazier when Linda hired some shady Electriciano logo on his truck, tools looking like they were from the 90s. My cameras caught them late one night, splicing wires from my charger to her BMW like they were in a bad spy movie. I heard a hum, then a pop, and ran outside to see her car shaking, lights flashing like a rave, smoke pouring from the hood. Linda was grinning like she'd won the lottery until the car let out a bang and died. She screamed, blaming me, but the melted wires and charred adapter told the real story. The fire department showed up, along with a deputy who watched my footage and told Linda she'd broken about 5 laws. The neighbors, now openly laughing, called her Smoke Queen as firefighters hosed down her car. At the next HOA meeting, Linda tried one last stand, storming in with a stack of papers, accusing me of sabotage and monopolizing eco-resources. I laid out my permits, electrician reports, and the video of her tampering. The room erupted laughter, gasps, even applause. The HOA board fined her thousands, stripped her of her board seat, and warned her about legal action if she kept it up. She screamed about lawsuits, knocked over a chair, and stormed out, her heels clacking like a dramatic exit in a movie. The neighbors spilled outside, some joking it was like a reality show finale. For a moment, I thought it was over. But Linda wasn't done. Rumors spread she was still plotting, meeting with sketchy contractors, muttering about city inspectors. Her BMW was towed away, fried beyond repair, and she walked the neighborhood with her head down, avoiding everyone. I locked my Charger in a steel box with motion sensor. Sarah called it Fort Knox for EVs. The neighborhood settled into a strange peace, with people joking about the Great Charger War at barbecues, kids drawing chalk pictures of cars zapping each other. Linda's reign was over, her credibility torched like her car, but I couldn't shake the feeling she'd try one last stunt. Sure enough, I caught her one night, pacing outside her house, scribbling in a notebook like she was planning a comeback. Nothing came of it, but it kept me on edge. Looking back, it wasn't just about a Charger, it was about control, envy, and someone who couldn't stand being told no. Linda turned a simple disagreement into a neighborhood saga, and in the end, she lost everything: her car, her status, her pride. It makes you wonder, how far would you go to prove you're right? Have you ever dealt with someone like Linda, someone who'd burn it all down just to win? Drop a comment. Tell me your stories. I am dying to hear how you handled your own neighborhood drama. And if you laughed or gasped at this, hit that share button. Let's see how many others have met their own smoke queen.